Today I'm going to be talking about emotional intelligence, why it's so important, and the 4 competencies you really need to develop to be a truly successful leader. In 1998, psychologist Daniel Goleman published his research into the need for emotional intelligence in leaders. He looked at 181 different management competency models from 121 different worldwide organisations and found that in all of them, over 2/3 of the abilities required by managers were based on emotional intelligence. The result of his research is one of the best and most important list of skills that I've come across. These 4 competencies categorise the real skills of a leader. The first of these is self-awareness. This is an awareness of our own internal state, our preferences and our intuitions. Self-awareness has 3 key activities. Emotional awareness, which is recognising our own emotions and their effects on our behaviours and performance. Accurate self-assessment, which is knowing our own strengths and weaknesses. And self-confidence, trusting our own abilities and judgment and having a strong sense of self-worth, regardless of any imperfections. However, this is not to be confused with that most unpleasant of personality traits, arrogance. The second competency is self-management, and this is about managing our own internal states and emotions. Self-management has 6 key activities. Self-control, keeping our disruptive thoughts and feelings in check in order to make calm, rational decisions. Trustworthiness, which means us maintaining the highest standards of honesty and integrity. Conscientiousness, which is taking responsibility for our personal performance. Adaptability, which is all about flexibility and embracing change. Achievement orientation, which is striving to improve or meet a standard of excellence set either by ourselves or others. And finally, initiative, which is a readiness to act on opportunities. The third competency is self-awareness, and this is an awareness of others' needs, feelings and concerns. Social awareness has 3 key aspects. The first of these is empathy, which is sensing the feelings and perspectives of other people. This can be missing in some people, sometimes as a result of neurodiversity such as autistic spectrum disorder or Asperger's. But although you may not actually sense it, this doesn't prevent you from taking an active interest in their concerns. The emotional part of our brain acts much faster than the logical, rational side. This applies to you just as much as the person you're interacting with, and it's important to remember, especially if dealing with a potentially emotive subject, or if either person is in a heightened emotional state. Secondly, we have organisational awareness, and this is reading the emotional currents and power relationships within a group. And finally, service orientation, which is anticipating, recognising and meeting customers' needs. Before I get onto the last category, if this kind of content is interesting to you and you want to learn how to become a better leader, please consider subscribing and remember to hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. So that covers the competencies we could describe as inner leadership. These are generally very hard to observe, which makes it really difficult to give and receive feedback about them. So you're going to have to work really hard to reflect and master these activities yourself. It's well known that soft skills are often the hardest to gain. The fourth category is social skills. This is our adeptness at inducing desirable behaviours in others. The 8 vital social skills which are identified by Goleman are developing others, which is about sensing the development needs of others and helping them grow those abilities. Leadership, which is all about inspiring and guiding individuals and groups. Influence, which is all about having effective skills of persuasion, but remember to use these for good. Remember the principle of trustworthiness. Communication, which is all about listening and sending effective messages. Being a change catalyst, which involves initiating or managing change. Conflict management, which is all about negotiating and resolving disagreements. Building bonds, and this is about nurturing instrumental relationships. And finally, teamwork and collaboration, which is working with others towards shared goals. According to Daniel Goleman, CEOs are hired for their intellect and business expertise and fired for a lack of emotional intelligence. So what does this tell us? Well, it tells us that leadership is primarily about people, and that business smarts and intellect and technical expertise will only get you so far. But remember that the first task of management is knowing and managing yourself and your emotions. I'll dive into some of these topics in much more depth in some future videos, but hopefully this overview has been useful to you, and you can begin to see why I find this a fascinating subject and why I think it's so core to being a successful leader. Maybe it's helped you to identify some shortcomings in your own emotional intelligence, or perhaps those of a team member, something worth working on in the future. If you've got any tips for anyone struggling with anything that I've covered today, or you'd like to share your experiences, or perhaps you'd like me to take a deeper dive into one of the topics, please do drop a comment below. And I've included links to a couple of books I'd recommend in the description, along with a link to a PDF which you can download, which will give you a summary of the topics that I've covered today. Thanks for watching. See you soon.